Uh, Good evening, everybody. Thank you for being here tonight. It's just a real honor to be gathered here in this room with all of you who have contributed to some of the things we've already discussed. I can't help but go back to what Ms. Yancey just said. She said, I wish it would get bigger, but I want to make sure it's always getting better. That's a struggle we have too with Miss Yancey. Where did she go? She's somewhere. There you are. Miss Yancey, I agree with you. And Keena, you hit the nail on the head. We need some money to bring these two campuses together. And what we're here to do is not really that. We're really here tonight because we're here to thank the people who've already contributed to what we're trying to do. But we have our eye on that prize. Hopefully, Danny will still be going to school here. He won't be in high school yet. Anyway, my name is Ryan Finkbeiner. I serve as the principal here at Mount Lebanon. And thank you again for joining us here tonight. We appreciate you taking time aside. I know everybody's schedule is really, really busy. Jeff asked me to speak a few words here to close out the evening. And if you haven't figured it out yet, Jeff is a slight over-planner. Jeff has always got a plan. So he set out some very specific directions for me, and I'm going to do my best to follow his directions. And it was a pretty lofty list. He said, first of all, Ryan, you have to speak from your heart to the hearts. Okay? Just a small task. He said, tell the story of what we do. Tell us where we were, where we are, where we want to go. And then he said, you cannot use a PowerPoint with data on numbers and student performance. And that was the hardest part because I really like putting the data in front of people so you can actually see what's happening in our classrooms and the progress our students are making. And his last direction was to be about 10 minutes. That one I'm definitely going to go over, but I'll do my best on the other ones. Before I try to execute on Jeff's list, I want to take just a quick moment to thank all of you again for being here. To the parents who are in this room, and there are a lot of them in here, we can't thank you enough for your dedication and your partnership. None of this happens without you. To the students in the room, many of them are here. The students that are walking in this room don't just work hard on Saturday night. They work, I believe, harder than any students in the city of Milwaukee to get this done. So thank you, students. To our church members and volunteers, thank you. A lot of them are here tonight. And the amount of hours that the members of our church have dedicated to this mission, it's staggering. And then to the faculty and staff, they are second to none. They do more day in and day out than any group of people that I've ever worked with. But we're also here because we want to take a moment to pause and thank God for what He's done here. He has been incredibly good to our ministry. Beyond the blessings of parents and students and teachers and supporters and prayer warriors, He's blessed us with His Son. And it's only through the power and forgiveness of Jesus that we're even able to come together and try to make disciples of Christ and heirs of eternity and leaders for the community. So to Jeff's first request, what do we do at Mount Lebanon? Every year in the middle of August, about 240 students show up to Mount Lebanon, and they're supported by about 140 parents. Those students are ages 4 to 14, and the parents are supported by grandparents and aunts and uncles who are all showing up. They're met by 40 or so staff and faculty who didn't take the summer off. They were working and getting ready. And then they're supported by the prayers of our congregation and a large number of volunteers who walk across the parking lot from the church and get dirty with us and get to work. But admittedly, if you listen to that description, it's really not that much different than any other school that you would experience. But I believe it is incredibly different because the group of people who come to that building, they get ready to work, and they work hard. And they sink their heels in and say, we're going to make this happen. They are determined day in and day out to defy the educational statistics that you and I shake our head at. They will work harder, and they will work longer than we could ask or imagine. Students and children come and they meet a lot of demands and a lot of high expectations. And the work that they do, it's so full of truth and it's so full of grace that people have to respond to it. They have to react to it. The group of people who comes, parents, students, teachers, they look at Milwaukee and they see a desert and they say we're going to be an oasis in that desert that exists in Milwaukee. I have to kind of resist the temptation to dig into the data and present the numbers. When I answer this next question, which Jeff said is, tell us where we were, where did we stand? I have a PowerPoint. If you want the PowerPoint, I'll share the PowerPoint. It's got the numbers, it's got the data. We'll walk through, maybe that's the afterglow. Tonight, afterglow, educational data. But actually, I think the best way to describe where we were is to take you back to October of 2015. We were in a professional development meeting early on in the year, and we decided that we were going to really start looking closely at how our students were performing in math and reading. And we asked two questions, really. The first one was, how are our kids performing? And that's to say, are they on grade level? And the second question we asked ourselves was, are our kids growing? So are they on pace to be on grade level? In October of 2015, which is about 8 years ago, the answer to that question was no. In 2015, Mount Lebanon scholars were the lowest performing and the slowest growing students of the 11 Wells grade schools in the city of Milwaukee. We actually looked at a quadrant, and in the lower left corner of that quadrant is where our students were huddled, and that lower corner was labeled with these words: low performing, low growth. So we uncovered the data at that meeting, and we looked at a picture that was on the screen, and the picture was a picture of a tree that is in the middle of a jungle, and it had fallen over the road, blocking the traffic to go through and the people who would walk. And we thought that picture really represented what we were looking at that day. We knew that we first had to believe that we could do it. And there was a story that went around with that picture of the jungle and the tree, and I looked this up so I could share the story accurately. But the story kind of goes like this. There's a group of people who see the size of this enormous tree that's fallen on the path, and they simply begin to turn around and walk away. As they were walking away, one young girl stepped forward, and she approached the tree. She bent her knees and placed her hands under the tree, and she began to lift. Of course, the tree did not move. Despite her effort, it would not budge. When others saw this girl struggling to move such an enormous obstacle, some just started to laugh, and others just continued to walk away. But there are others standing in the crowd. I'm going to try not to get emotional here. There was others standing in the crowd, and they began to approach the tree. They came alongside the girl. They placed their hands beneath the tree. And as they came out, more and more began to gather around the tree. First it was just 5, and then 10, and then 20. Soon there were so many people gathered shoulder to shoulder and side by side, they started to believe they could move the tree. And with directed effort and coordinated bursts of energy, the tree budged. And then it began to move, inch by inch, foot by foot. The seemingly impossible became possible. I think that's what happened in that professional development meeting. We were in that meeting and we decided then and there, we're going to lift together to figure this out. And we knew we would need parents. We would need teachers. We would need volunteers.
And that's what we started doing. That's what we started doing. We started working hard. We immediately started talking to parents, and we explained to them where we were and where we wanted to go. And I haven't said it yet, but I do believe we have been blessed at Mount Lebanon with the best parents in Milwaukee, and I think you've seen that tonight. We actually put the numbers in front of our kids, and we set goals, high goals for their growth. And those kids started to dig in and work hard. We put in a request to our congregation, and we simply said to them, we need your help. We can't do this on our own. And a stream of volunteers walked across that parking lot and started spending hours in that school. In 2015, that same year, we discovered the data. Volunteers came to our school from our church every afternoon from 3:30 to 4:30 in the afternoon. The second graders from the public school down the road were out at 2:15, but not our second graders. They stayed, the parents supported, students got to work, the volunteers got to work, and that same type of thing is still happening to this day. That second grade class graduated from Mount Lebanon Lutheran School 9 months ago. They're now freshmen in high school at Wisconsin Lutheran High School, Luther Prep, Milwaukee Lutheran. And I'm going to disobey Jeff's order, but I'm going to share the data. I'm going to share the data with you. That 8th grade class took their final standardized test called the Measure of Academic Progress, and they averaged a 236 in math, which is where a 12th grader would perform taking that test. In the reading test, they scored a 224. That's how an 11th grader would, on average, perform on that final test. In their final 9 months in 8th grade, they grew 15 months worth of education in math and 12 months in reading. It was incredible. And they're now performing at an incredibly high level in high school. But that type of success is only possible with a lot of hard work and because a lot of people were lifting together. So where has that placed Mount Lebanon today? Today, Mount Lebanon is the only school in Milwaukee to be awarded a 5-star ranking 5 years in a row. The only school. If you send your student to Mount Lebanon, they are 12 times more likely to be proficient or advanced in reading than if they attend a public school. Our nearest public school has 0% of its students proficient or advanced in math. Almost 40% of Mount Lebanon scholars perform at or above the national norm. Mount Lebanon has added programs and partnerships that continue to challenge and push our scholars. Coming out of the school shutdowns of 2020, Mount Lebanon was one of the first schools to open the doors to our students. We've partnered with Project Lead the Way to add the country's most robust and well-respected STEM curriculum to our program, and we now have 2 teachers who are dedicated to delivering that. We've added additional faculty, dedicated art and music teachers, our resource teachers, our director of student services. We've partnered with organizations like Learning Exchange and Reading Corps to provide additional math and reading support for our kids who need it the most. Mount Lebanon has added a full-time school pastor to lead our outreach efforts with the gospel. We've created a student services program headed by Anna Barch as our director of student services. Anna and her team provide one-on-one and small group instruction primarily to students new to Mount Lebanon. Currently, 20% of our scholars are receiving that additional support with her and her team. The Mount Lebanon faculty has changed, but in a lot of ways it's stayed the same. We have the same dedicated faculty, the same dedicated parents, the same dedicated church volunteers who work tirelessly to bring excellent, Christ-centered education to our students. But we're not done. So where are we going? It's our goal with parents and school families to provide the absolute best Christ-centered education in the city of Milwaukee. We've resisted the urge to get bigger, and we continue to focus on getting better. We believe if we continue to focus on better and not bigger, we can continue to improve on these results. So what's next? We need to continue offering the scholars the help they need through our student services program. We've secured already the necessary funding to continue that program for next year, but to see that program continue beyond that and to grow, we need additional financial support. We're going to break ground on a new building. Mount Lebanon plans to break ground this spring to add a new building to our elementary school campus. In that new building, a lot of amazing things are going to begin to happen. We're going to partner with Lighthouse Youth Center and their after-school program. Every night, students will have Bible study, a safe place to study, a Christian environment to spend time with their friends in the evening. That additional building will give space to our Alpha Campus STEM lab. We'll have dedicated space for art and music. Our student service program will have dedicated space instead of being sandwiched into a corner of our library. We want this building to send a message to the community. The path is open. We can defy the odds together. The impossible can become possible if we just continue to lift together. A lot has changed in the last 8 years, but I think the best way to end my time with you here is to remind us of some things that have not changed. And of course, if we're going to examine the things that haven't changed, we need to look to the one who promises he will never change. James 1:17 says this, "Every good and perfect gift is from above, coming down from the Father of heavenly lights, who does not change." Every gift, every blessing, every accomplishment that we have seen at Mount Lebanon comes from that Heavenly Father who does not change. The foundational passage of our school is Romans 12:2. "Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you will be able to test and approve what God's will is, his good, pleasing, and perfect will." It's on these ideas that we build our mission and our vision. Our vision is this: by reaching out to the Hampton Heights community with the transformative power of the gospel, we will make disciples of Jesus Christ who are heirs of eternity, prepared with an excellent Christ-centered education to be servant leaders in their community. Disciples, heirs, and leaders. There's a saying that I have, especially when I get too wrapped up in a PowerPoint with data and numbers. And the saying is this: if every child gets into Harvard, but we don't see them in heaven, then we've missed our first calling. This calling has not changed, and it will never change. Every day, every child is taught that their identity is fully met in the fact that they are children of God. Their Heavenly Father sent his one and only Son to redeem the lost. This is free to us, but it was not free to him. With that no greater love, our children know that success or failure will not affect the fact they are children of God. It's this unyielding gospel proclamation that will always be our number one purpose. It will never take backseat to the data and the numbers. We certainly have a lot to be thankful for tonight. Incredible parents, hardworking students, a dedicated faculty, members of our church and community who pray for and support and work in our ministry. And I can't thank you enough for the work that you do. But let us never forget, all praise and thanks for these blessings goes to our God, whose grace and mercy and blessing he gives us every day through his Son. Thank you for your time tonight. Very much appreciate you joining us here for our first run at an event like this. I hope and pray you can stay a little bit longer and enjoy some fellowship. And I'd ask you to continue to pray for and support the work that we do here at Mount Lebanon. Thank you.